I just wanted you, just in your own words, just as naturally as you can, just kind of tell about like this is how this is full circle for you working at this camp and etc.
It's actually kind of funny you mentioned that because ever since I came in country and got to, relink with Brian Mason, ever since, leading up to this season, and it's been on my heart for years, Jenny. You know this. I've been keeping in touch off and on for years. I've always been
Yes, I
wanting to kind
remember
of
that. Yes.
reach back, and there's always been a reason in life why I just couldn't. Timing, job, family, you name it. That's part of life. But this definitely hits home for me because um, some know, some don't. We've known each other for 20 years now, off and on, right?
Over 20, yeah.
Yeah, over 20. I mean, the first time we officially met was when I was, what, 13, turning 14.
Oh
Eh,
goodness. You guys
It's
were in K Town and we had just started the ministry
yeah.
very long time ago. Yeah,
Well,
early.
like I remember specifically the very first camp I ever went to, it was more like we were in some kind of back room almost of a chapel type thing, and there was a stage in one room and everyone was crammed into another room, you
It was
know.
the Mannheim Center. It was a Christian
What
Services
was
Center
it?
in Mannheim.
Man,
It was, yeah.
that's
They had that fellowship hall had a stage on it. Man,
yes, yes, yes.
that
I
would have
mean,
been 2002.
it's
Yeah,
was it
2002. Brian
so
Mason's first
long
camp.
ago,
I remember that. Yeah.
man, because I remember the day the youth in our church arrived that night. It was literally in the middle of the night. And we didn't know
Yeah.
where to go. And it was like, just pick a spot to sleep. And then the
Yeah.
next day it was like, all right, we're gonna figure it out now for the next few days. Um,
Yeah. We slept on the floor of the center back then. And I
mhm.
promise you, having real beds in a castle is a little bit of an upgrade from sleeping on the floor of the center, but it was
Oh
still great.
man.
It was still great.
Well, you definitely learn to adapt where you sleep because I mean, I remember that experience, especially because it was my first and almost last experience, right? I mean, I was a bit of a knucklehead back then. I mean, I almost got
I
kicked
don't
out like the
remember that.
second or third day. It was like, all right, you got one
You have
chance.
conversations with my husband.
Oh man,
Mr. Brian.
kids will be kids, but it was kind of embarrassing looking back at it. But
Oh, gee.
praise God for second chances, third chances type thing. I mean, we went from the floor to cots in shape,
Right?
with the
Yep.
with the gymnasium with the blue floors, the
Right.
blow up stuff.
That's a
Uh,
hangar. That was an airline, an Air Force hangar that they
yeah,
rented out to us. I mean, the crazy things we've done in ministry, like, from the floor of the Mannheim Center to Army donated cots through the Army
yes,
Reserve to
yes.
into an Air Force hangar at the air base in Belgium. That was so
Oh,
crazy.
absolutely. I mean, the most influential camp that stands out was one of the ones where we were in actual like barracks style bunk beds. One on bottom, one on top. It was like a youth hostel almost. They had their own conference screen and everything. We had that massive scavenger hunt taking pictures, the shaking pictures. Um, that was the most influential one because that's when the scandal happened for me. That's when my life actually got turned around. Um, I'll never forget it to this day. It was the Coke scandal. It was the
So I don't
time.
remember
Yes.
this. I'm trying to think
Oh,
of where we
oh.
were.
I
There were so
cannot
many
remember where
hotels
we
we
were.
were in.
I cannot. All I can remember, like it, and it's so bad, right? The camps were so beautiful, regardless of the environment. But the only thing I can remember from that camp was getting in so much trouble for stealing a Coke and not realizing it was Brian's.
You hooligan! You hooligan! You stole my husband's Coke.
He tracks me down and he takes it back basically. And that was the turning point where, hey, you've been given two or three chances. It's either you shape up or you're not coming back. And it was definitely an eye opener.
So
The
my
next few
husband,
camps after that were
yeah,
something
my
else.
husband always had that. That's why, they called Brian Mason in the early years, the good Brian,
Mm.
because
Yeah.
he didn't want to call anybody out. He didn't want kids to get in trouble. And my husband is the bad Brian, because if you're in trouble, that's who you go see. So
Yeah. That's absolutely true. There's got to be a reason. Let's talk. Let's this. And then of course your Brian was very, I don't care.
I don't care.
He broke the rule. He's going to get the
Hammer
consequences.
falls.
That's, oof. You know, and I can't remember how many camps I've been to. One of the camps we went to, we took a bus for hours and we were in the middle of nowhere on a field. The guy slept in the tent.
Oh, right. No, that was
The
Garmisch, dude. That was
the
Garmisch.
ladies, yep, they were in
Yep.
the building, yep, and we all slept on cots again out
And it
in a
was so
field,
hot.
you know.
It was like 105 degrees all week, and there was no
Yes,
listening.
yes,
And we were out there in Garmisch. Can you believe that was 21 years ago?
that's it's
You
just
guys
crazy to
had it.
wrap my head around.
You guys had it better outside because it was so hot in that building. That was the first time I met the Burtons, Phil and Becky Burton, and
Mm,
we almost fainted from the heat on the inside. There was no way to get any airflow. And you guys had the fest tents outside, which wasn't very luxurious, but you had a nice airflow at night. But do you remember the cows came through? All these
yeah,
Bavarian milk cows with the big bells.
yes,
They
yes.
pooed all through the middle of the camp with these huge
Oh,
cow pies everywhere.
oh yeah, no, I remember specifically because the first few days we had like football and different activities outside, and then it just stopped, and no one knew why until after the fact. So yeah, there's a lot of fond memories there. There's a lot to look back on and kind of, this was fun. This was a learning experience. Why did you do that? And why this, why that? Um, Regardless of the jokes and regardless of the good and bad experiences,
Mhm.
um, not many people know. I actually told Brian Mason this just the other week. Um, my life has always been in the church, always. My mother is very devout,
Yeah.
and I have always gone through the motions, always. And I believed what I read, but I never applied it. And you might have very well had seen that behavior, but then you saw a change, right? I
Mm-hmm.
believe there was a very strong combination of different factors. The youth camp was definitely one of them because there was a particular year, again, not many people know about this, but I think it was in 2002 is when I officially gave my life to God. I officially at the Kaiserslautern church, asked them to come into my heart to save me, to actually put it to work. And then I think you saw that change that next camp because obviously I was no longer a knucklehead. Obviously, I was no longer causing issues. I was actually trying to be more of a leader at that point.
There were other
And
people causing issues at the next one.
yeah, right. Don't do that. Trust me, he's gonna get you. He's gonna get you. Right. So, with that being part of my testimony, this entity that became JacobsGen has been so near and dear to me, even just following you from afar, seeing the work you do and then catching up in Nebraska that one time you came by,
That was
stuff
over
like that,
10 years ago,
as
right?
an adult. Yeah. Yeah. It's well over 10 years ago. Um, it's a crazy-ish, if it could, if I'd even describe it that it was definitely a diverse upbringing, diverse experience, especially being in a foreign country,
Yes.
having moved around a lot, a lot of things again with life going on. But that camp was always something to look forward to. And then now as an adult, now I'm 37. I'm not 14 anymore, right? I'm 37 and I'm
Oh,
sitting there
thank
looking
God,
at
so old, because I wasn't I 37 recently. Like, I don't know how 20
it.
something years flew by, but it did.
Yeah. It just, I always remember those things and I always remember the impact it had on me. And with all those second and third chances, the right type of influence to guide both good and troubled teens, and to be able to change a troubled teen into a good one, that's what we strive for,
Yeah.
as a congregation. So to have been one of those youth, naturally, I want to be able to contribute to that moving forward, right?
Yeah. So now you're
That's
back in Germany.
a huge thing for
Um,
me. Yeah, yeah.
been back in Kaiserslautern, which is so unique as an adult to come back to the base that you guys were stationed at
Sure.
when you
Oh,
were a kid.
absolutely.
And it's
Absolutely.
changed so much. I mean,
Oh, it has changed tremendously. My wife right now, I actually met her in high school here in Kaiserslautern, and it's more than one type of, full circle.
oh yeah,
Uh, when we got here last year in June, old but new. A lot of familiar, a lot of new things to adjust to. Clearly, I'm driving. Wasn't driving then. Stuff like that. The base is smaller than I remember. Stuff like that.
yeah, you're little at it's big, right?
And then of course, for me, there was no other place that I would even consider than going to City Mission Kaiserslautern, my home away from home, going right back to the place that my family was one of the founding members
Yeah,
to be in that building. And now we're about to celebrate a note burning ceremony
that's
20
incredible.
plus years later. I saw it in the beginning when we signed the deed and the lease, and I'm seeing it now as we're burning it, kind of thing. It's so
Well, I
amazing.
got chills. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that is
Yeah.
you're in a season of full circles in a lot of ways.
It is truly a piece of history for me and for the church, and to be able to share some of the stories to individuals there now, including these youth stories. Oh,
Yes.
there's a bus that comes by. Do you know that? Oh yeah, I know that. I wrote it. Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
wrote
I
that
know
bus.
that.
We were
It's
using the same bus company that we used back in 2002, 2003. I'm surprised it's not the same bus driver growing
oh, I
old.
know. Oh, I know. I can guarantee you the dust on the chairs are the same though. I can guarantee
Yeah,
that.
some of the
I'm
buses
sure of it.
might be the same bus. It looks pretty old now,
Right.
but that's incredible. Yeah, we picked up at that building all those years. I remember 2002 making arrangements with Frank Alcorn, who was your pastor when you were a kid,
Correct.
to pick up there at City Mission. So it's always been the first stop on the bus route, and there in the Kaiserslautern military community, Ramstein and Vogelway and Landstuhl and Baumholder. Like it's just a huge area with military, and so that was always number one first stop is to get the K Town area kids. But
The hub, the K-Town hub. Yep.
K Town hub. So now you're coming in June. Hopefully your wife and daughter can join us. We're hoping that that all works out to come and work at the camp in Austria, and
Correct.
I'm excited because it's not often. What's really unique about this camp is Dave and Deanna Rolfe. You remember them when they were in church with you 20 years ago, right?
Yes.
And their daughter, they started working with us before they had kids. And then they had Ariana, and she came to one of the last camps they ever served at before they moved back to the States in 2004 or 5. I think it was 2005 in Berchtesgaden, Germany. And now she's coming back. She's actually flying with me. And she's going to be a leader because she's graduating high school. She's 19. She's going to be a leader at the camps that her parents brought her to when she was an infant. I,
Hmm.
it's just so many full circle moments right now. It's just really cool. But I'm so glad that you're coming. And I just know that God is going to lead some of these youth. You'll be able to pick up on it. You're like, I know exactly your game, bro, because I was there. I was that
I
kid.
was there. I was literally there. Um,
Yeah.
it's I mean, we throw the word unique around a lot. Even though I know of these camps, and even though I got the privilege of being a youth in these camps, I've never been a mentor at the camp. I've never been the adult, to help run things logistically or spiritually. I've never been to this location even. So it's old, but it's new.
Right.
So it's gonna be great to see it in a new lens. Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, uh, I was looking forward more than ever to be able to catch up with Brian, both Brians. Fortunately, Brian Mason is in our church here now at Kaiserslautern, so we catch up at least every week.
Yeah.
Um,
And
it
you
would have
will.
been great.
You will.
It would have been great, yeah, to see
It's the
Brian.
the the thing is like you'll just see kind of the progression of like how the Lord has helped us to develop a model. And we have to change it all the time because the students are changing, the culture's changing.
Oh, yes.
But 90% of the effectiveness comes from showing up in their lives, being there, and just loving on them. I'll never forget the time the Lord spoke to me. I was worried about, well, we have to do this and we have to do that, and we need this and we can't, it won't be good if we don't do this. And the Lord spoke to me and said, all I ever asked you to do was to love these kids.
Mm,
Everything else is just like on the
awesome.
peripheral. We don't need it, but you need to show up and you need to love and
Absolutely.
open up the space for God to do what He does. We can say all these years later, 24 years later, that He's still doing it. And I'm just thrilled to death, really thrilled that you get to be a part of it. And next year we're celebrating 25 years. That's remarkable. So I'm saving these little snippets and these tidbits of stories to put them all together so we can just look back on a quarter century of what God has done. So I'm just glad you're a part of it, and we love you, and we don't forget you guys. You grow up. Sometimes we see you years later, and you change. I think we change a little bit too because we're growing up too. Still, we were barely 30 when we started doing this, so it's been a couple years, but it's just
Yeah.
really cool to meet up with some of our former students, and we remember those moments, and to hear it now from your vantage point as an adult with kids,
Mm,
married with kids,
yep.
to be able to hear your vantage point of looking back all those 2 decades ago plus, it's just super special. But anyway, thank you so much for sharing that, and looking forward to next month already when we're all going to
Oh,
be
yeah.
gathered on
That's
stage.
crazy. That's crazy. Time has flown,
7
and
countries
I
now
can't
because we have
wait.
Poland and Spain. A couple of years ago, we didn't have Poland, and now we have students from our center there. And then Spain, as the church plant is getting ready to start, and we've got folks coming. Like, what? This is like, it's incredible to step back and say, God, you are awesome. And I'm glad
Hmm.
to get to be a part of what you're doing. So,
Hmm. Well, I don't know how many firsts you have had in this ministry, but I ventured in the curiosity. Has any youth ever come back to actually do this full circle? I know you mentioned one of the children having grown up in one respect, but it leaves me curious. Have there
I'm
been
trying to think.
any
I'll have to think
youths?
about that. You might be the first. Now, we did have back, oh my goodness, way back. My first pastor as a grown up, married with kids, going to church in Vilsick was your pastor, Frank Alcorn, because he was in
Mhm.
Vilsick first and then he went up to K-Town years later. So Frank and Sandra were our pastors when we were just a young couple with little tiny kids, little with babies. And that youth group we started in 1993. Melissa, who is Frank Alcorn's youngest daughter, was one of our students. Her son
Mhm.
actually came back about 6 years ago to Belgium to be a mentor at our camp. And I'm like, I don't know how these many years go
Wow.
by that we've got the son of one of our former students, but you might be the first former student that's come out. But as soon as I say that, I'll be contacted. Oh no, forgot about
What
that.
about me? What about me? Well, I'm not special in the
You are
at
special.
all. I humbly state that I've seen the impact that these camps have. I've witnessed it, I've experienced it, and it truly pulls on my heart to be able to continue that and to be able to laugh and share stories and be able to reflect that it has survived
Yeah,
20 plus years
yeah,
is a testimony in of itself
yeah.
of yourself in the ministry. So
God
it
is
would be it
faithfulness.
would be it would be unreal to not be able to come back. It would make no sense to me to pass up on the ability to contribute the way it was contributed and sown into my life. So it's not about firsts, it's more a matter of I'm truly honored and privileged to be able to reach back finally. and be part of this.